Good morning, everyone. So as you can see from behind my back, I'm in Domus Academy in Milano. Very rainy day today. So welcome to the second appointment of Connecting the Dots. We have, as usual, our teacher, our Professor Paolo Lorini, that will moderate the talk. Connecting the Dots is a series of webinars involving our alumni, design professional alumni. Today we have, as I'm very happy, today we have as guest Rodrigo Torres, directly from Colombia. So Paolo, you want to introduce Rodrigo a little bit? And then we will go on with the presentation. Thank you very much. I leave you the stage, Rodrigo and Paolo. Thank you very much for joining. And I look forward listening to the talk.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Let's switch off the slider now so that we can introduce Rodrigo. Hello, Rodrigo. Welcome. You are live.
Hey, man. Thank you very much. I'm super happy to be able to share these minutes, this hour with you guys, just to chat about our life and see how we're all going in this epic moment of our history, of our story.
That's right. That's right. So welcome everybody. To us, Connecting the Dots as a double meaning, I would say. On one side, Domus is a big family that spans all over the world. So Connecting the Dots means talking and connecting with all of you who are attending the workshop, the webinar. I'd say that there are some alumni connected, probably maybe some friends of Rodrigo, and some friends of mine. Then there are students that are now in their course in Domus, and maybe there are also some prospect students. So all of these people have something to share, in our opinion. So connecting them and keeping a strong connection has always been among the most important values of this school. Another interpretation of Connecting the Dots is inviting people that used to come at Domus, that used to study at Domus, like Rodrigo and many others, to connect the dots of their lives, especially their professional career. How Domus was an important moment for them and what happened after that. Today we have the pleasure, as Giuseppe just mentioned, to have with us Rodrigo Torres. And Rodrigo is a product designer specializing in furniture, electronics, and as well home appliances, among others. He was born and raised in Colombia, where he graduated in industrial design at the Jorge Tadeo Dolzano University in Bogota. I hope my spelling was right, Rodrigo. And afterwards, he completed the Master in Product Design at Domus Academy. Seems like a century ago. You look so young, but actually you were enrolled at Domus Academy in 1999. So it's almost, it's more than 20 years ago. Wow, really sounds like an age ago.
I'm old, man.
No, you're not. You're not. At least you don't look like that. And Rodrigo then founded his own studio in 2004. And since then, he has been collaborating with very important international brands all over the world, I would say, Rodrigo. Europe, Asia, North America, Latin America. He has clients that include very well-known international clients, like companies like Alessi, which you are very fond of. I know that you have a very real passion for this Italian company, which is very well known. And then Polyform, Oras, ANSA, Cassina, IXC, and then some others like Landscape Forms, even Nike, big American corporations like Nike, Microsoft, Domodinamica, Potocco, Challenger. And then there is another very special company to you and to your career, which is Ziente. You will tell us a bit more about that. Yeah. Rodrigo won several awards. His work has been shown in important design exhibitions all over the world again, Europe, Asia, America, and is also been visiting a visiting professor with us, Domus Academy, project leader, master in product design, and the master in interaction design back a few years ago.
Yeah.
He also very often teaches and gives conferences in several universities and institutions worldwide. So I think there's enough to talk about. And then again, thank you for being with us, Rodrigo. And I invite all the audience to cheer Rodrigo with a ciao or with a welcome and to let us know in the chat where are you listening from and what are you curious about. By the way, we will have some time for a Q&A session at the end of the interview, at the end of our conversation. So if you have questions for Rodrigo that come up during the talk to your mind, please do not hesitate to write in the chat, and we will pick them up later on when we are done with our conversation. Okay, then Rodrigo, can you tell us a little bit of what did you study and how was your professional life like before Domus? Can you start from the beginning, so from when you were a design student before entering the school, and
absolutely,
what were your dreams and what did you think about?
Okay, so to be able to explain you better, I'm going to share a little bit of a PDF that I have here. Give me a second. How do I do? Sharing video.
Bottom right, third icon, a square with an arrow.
Bottom right. Hold on. Bottom right. Is there an icon there to share?
Yes, there is a purple thing.
Yeah.
Bottom right. Yeah.
Share content. Ah, yes, perfect. Share content.
Share screen. Share application of screen.
Yes.
And then you
share audio. Okay. Yep. Perfect. Okay. So I hope I'm sharing now.
Not yet. Now, yes.
Yep.
But it's black, and now you just need to put it full screen, and that's okay. We can start.
Perfect. Okay, man. So your question was to tell you about my life before Domus, right?
That's right. Let's start from that.
Okay. You know, I am, even though I don't look that old, I am old. So yeah, my life in university was in Bogota's Jorge Tadeo Lozano University in Industrial Design, and then that was in the 90s. So just to give you a little bit of like to picture a little bit how was our reality in Colombia. Many of you that are watching right now are familiar with the Colombian environment of the 90s, no? In Netflix. For many of you guys, or your parents, or your older brothers, the 90s were all about grunge culture, no? This explosion of new sounds, no? The sounds of Seattle, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden. We all had long hair. I had really long hair. And all these incredible times, no? And it was pretty cool all around the world. But for me, the 90s, and for us Colombians, the 90s, they were quite different. 90s for us, they were this. So what you see here is the first page of the most important newspaper, El Tiempo, in Bogotá, the day that Pablo Escobar was finally eliminated. You see, for us, the 90s were narco-terrorism, were assassinations of our leaders, political leaders, journalists, everyone that will be different or think different to these criminals from the Cartel de Medellin, Cartel de Cali, was eliminated. So for me, growing up during these times was really difficult in the sense that the perception of the future was completely dark. So there was no future. We were treated as criminals all around the world, as Colombians, of course. We were automatically drug dealers in any airport. We were picked up like this, like turds almost, because they were taking us to a small office to search all over for drugs. So my reality was violence, economical crisis, etc. And then in that particular moment in my university, I remember a book that came to us, because in those times we didn't have any kind of internet. So we were waiting, really hungry for information from all the books from Gustavo G from Barcelona, or Intramuros or Domus, the magazines that were coming, the design books that were coming to the French library, that were bringing them to our university. And then when they were bringing these books, we were all looking for the books, design books, with my classmates. And then I remember very much this book of Philip Stark. And I remember flipping the pages, watching, staring at this amazing work of Stark, and with my friends, or with my classmates. And then we were flipping, and I remember this page where there was the juicy salif, you know, the orange
Squeezer.
Squeezer, yeah. And I remember that when I saw that image, it was so strong for me to see the beauty. And then I stared down and I saw the company that produced this, and I saw Alessi. And in that particular moment, that's why I have this these words, dream. I gave myself the permission to dream, because when you have your reality so dark around you, the only way to escape that is to dream. So I dreamed so strong that day, that one day my dream will be, my dream was to one day be able to work for Alessi, go to Italy and show to the world that we Colombians were not only drug dealers, criminals, and corrupted politicians, that we Colombians could be virtuous people, that we could create, you know. I remember very much, and my dream was to go one day to Italy and work for Alessi. And then instantly after, I was woke up by the reality, my friends, I have to go to class, but that dream stayed in my mind. But you know, life is pretty cool, because when you have this kind of vision, I don't know, the stars or God or whatever, this energy aligns the planets and the stars, so you work really hard, try to go and pursue your dream. And I remember sketching this particular sketch in my sketchbook after I saw this book of Stark, and I have this dream. And I always carry it because it's a nice metaphor. That's how I immediately, when I knew about Domus Academy, it became also for me like an obsession to be able to go there to this. Of course, the information that we were getting here was this incredible design master's school in Milano, where a lot of the most important design professional teachers were giving lessons to few people, you know, small groups where you could really share with them. And it was instantly an obsession, and I did everything on my power, and my family helped me to be able to arrive to Domus, to fulfill that dream. And I have to say that for me, Domus Academy really changed my life for good. So that was my life before Domus, Paolo.
Okay, quite a dramatic situation back then. I guess Colombia is better now.
Way better, way better. It's another country in many ways, man. Yeah.
Okay, good. That's good to know, and maybe you'll tell more about that in a moment when you will talk about your present. So it's clear that for you it was very difficult to think about having a sort of international experience back then, but you made it, and you decided to enroll in Domus Academy. Why Domus Academy instead of any other Italian university, any other Italian master course, or any other Italian design school? Was there a specific reason, beside the fact that you could meet a lot of design superstars, like we see Stefano Giovannoni second from right here, and we see you third from the right here, but beside that, do you have any other reason, did you have any other reason to actually select Domus Academy?
Well, yeah, I remember that the dean of my university in the 90s, Fernando Correa, he was a very important person. in my life, because he was guiding me a lot on what was the next step. And then he actually spoke to me about Domus in the sense of let's say the philosophy of Domus was a philosophy of workshops. And this kind of philosophy of workshops where you face your teacher, you're in contact with your teacher, developing projects together, gives you, from my point of view, an incredible training on how's the daily life on a studio. Because sometimes you have this relation with the teachers, that the teachers are up there, far away, and basically they give you a lecture and goodbye, and this is your assignment, and that's all. What the information that I got from my dean was that Domus wasn't like that. Domus wasn't like a normal university or whatever. Domus was a workshop. So going to a place where you can interact with your teacher, like face by face, seated on the same table, around the table, sketching on the same paper, that for me was like, okay, I absolutely have to go there. And that was the main reason to go to Domus for me, to go and do these workshops face by face with these incredible people.
Wonderful. So learning by doing, which is, by the way, or learning by design, which is, by the way, the main philosophy of Domus Academy since several decades now, was an important reason for you, like having really the opportunity to stay closer to your maestros, to your heroes, probably, and develop together with them projects that would actually end before the eyes of real people from real companies. For example, here you have an image which is really, really nice, and it's a project that you did with Perugina, probably, right?
Yeah, with Baci Perugina, yeah. That was with Domus Academy. After we graduated from Domus, Domus chose us, these were all my classmates, Christian Benz, Francisco Gomez Paz, Catalina Tobon, and Fabrizio da Costa. We were chosen to go back to Italy after we graduated to develop this workshop with Stefano Giovannoni for Baci Perugina. And then after that workshop of 4 months after we graduated and worked for Baci with Stefano, that was my opportunity to show my work to Stefano Giovannoni, and he accepted me to work in his studio. And I had the honor to work for Stefano Giovannoni for 5 incredible years, where I learned so much, and yeah, I owe him a lot. But it was thanks to Domus Academy that I worked for Stefano.
Yeah, fantastic. So one other important point is actually having opportunities for you, for students, giving opportunity to students also to find a new direction for their jobs, to understand who they are, find their mission, identify maybe maestros, and get known by them, and maybe also end up working together with them in the real life out of the school.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important to be able to interact.
Let's go back a little bit again to your Domus experience, if you don't mind. When
Yes.
You came to Milan, how was it? What did you discover when you got here in Milan? So was the Domus experience as you expected, or did it surprise you in any way?
Yeah, of course, there's one thing that you have in your mind before going to Domus, and then a completely different one when you arrive. For me, it was an incredible journey. I mean, I arrived to a place where I met people from all over the world first. So my classmates were from Asia, from Latin America, from the States, from Europe. So this melting pot for me was an incredible, let's say, journey. And then when I started to interact with my teachers, with the kind of teacher that is leading by example, because my teachers in Domus were people that were actually working in design. They were designing. That was their daily work. So meeting a design professional, I remember the first project was with Mark Sadler, an incredible designer, French designer that lives in Milano. it was so cool to understand the way he thinks, and to start to see really, when you are developing the product with him, how a design studio works and how the companies think. So it's, for the first time in my life, I was in front of an example of a real life designer that is actually doing the things that he's professing, right? Because often you have certain schools, there are people, teachers, that they speak beautiful things, but they are not able to show you facts. So what I liked in Domus is that when I remember Enzo Mari was giving us this incredible lecture, it was Enzo Mari there, like I could smell him. And then he was really, you know how he is, and shouting, but he was showing his
very
work.
radical guy.
Yeah, but it was he was a living icon of design history in front of me. So it was an incredible journey, and Enzio Manzini and Ranzi and Giovannoni and all these incredible professionals. For me, it just blew my mind. It's incredible.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing this experience and these memories. I believe probably the most important thing you mentioned in your conversation and in your last answer was that you, beside having the opportunity to meet your heroes and incredible icons of design, you actually had the opportunity, thanks to Domus, to understand the way designers think and understand the way companies think. So in a way, you're telling, if I may, that Domus doesn't just teach you to design products, but helps you find your way in which you have to think, teach you a new way of thinking.
Yes, absolutely. When I came to Domus, I was a very good student in my university, and I thought I knew a lot about design. But when I arrived to a place to meet real designers, at the beginning I was scared. It was like, oh shit, I don't know anything. What am I gonna do? It was like it was a shocking moment. Then you have to be humble when you arrive to schools like Domus, because it's not that Domus is not going to open your mind and put you some drops of knowledge, squeeze, do some like a sort of cocktail, and then here you go, there's a designer. No, it teaches you to think as a designer, to understand the design environment, let's say worldwide. Was for the first time in my life I understood that you have industrial design studios and design-oriented studios. Industrial design companies, how do you work with industrial design inside of a big corporation, like home appliances, or how do you work as a designer for a design-oriented company such as Alessi, Capellini, all these brands? For me, was for the first time that I started to understand the world of design, and it's so valuable for a student to get immediately in a workshop all this information straight from a person that is really working on that.
Yeah, clear. Very interesting. And Rodrigo, is there any specific or particular course or workshop that you still remember today, and that was for some reason meaningful to you and became an important milestone in your way of thinking about design?
Absolutely. Many workshops as a student, and also workshops when I was the teacher. And the sustainability, when we approach all the workshops with sustainability in Domus, for me was so important, because often sustainability was seen as something related with more technology, or even chemistry. Technology was more or less a subject for engineers, right? That they will develop the proper materials, biodegradable, etc., etc. And then in Domus Academy was the place where I started to think, like, where is my role as a designer? And my students, after, when I was teaching, where is the role of the designer in the sustainability chain? How can we produce more sustainable products as designers. What can we do? Not only from the, let's say, material point of view, you see the plastics, biodegradable again, etc., but as designers, how can we design behaviors? So all this was related of all my years in Domus, that after I was able to let's say, to materialize in a product.
Fantastic. And what did you do after Domus? You mentioned that you worked with Stefano, but there was another moment before then, right? There was a moment where you were working at a big corporation.
Well, I before Domus, I was, of course, I had my opportunity to do a workshop, a stage. The stage in first here in Colombia for Corona. Corona is the biggest, let's say, bathroom company of one of the biggest ones of Latin America. And then after, before arriving to Domus, I went to Whirlpool. So in Whirlpool, I was able to understand a little bit of the world of a corporation during my stage. But then that was by, let's say, my relation with a big corporation doing the stage. Then after Domus, I worked for Stefano Giovannoni, and from there on, I worked on my own, doing my my projects.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the experience with Stefano was really special. Is there any project that still comes to your mind when you think about those few years that you stayed there?
Yeah, with Stefano was incredible, man. I mean, he's really an incredible designer, and he's very, let's say, very, how you say, not rough, but he knows what he wants, and he knows that he's very good. And then if you work really hard, he's gonna give you so many opportunities to develop beautiful projects inside his studio. And he's a very good teacher by example, Stefano. So I remember working my first projects for Alessi, the electrodomestics for Alessi, the kitchen scale for Alessi, the projects for Magis. For me, it was an incredible journey. It was really starting to see the way he was working, the relation with the client, how an idea. Oh, look, there's my cat here. You can say hi.
Yeah, we can see it.
You can see the tail there. Oi.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely, many. Oh, he said, don't bother. Yeah.
Absolutely okay.
Yeah. No, with Stefano was incredible. So many projects for many companies, Fiat, incredible.
Yes. And then you established your own studio in 2004. So you basically left the studio of Stefano Giovannoni, and you established your own studio. But back then it was in Milan.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I lived in Milan. Yeah, I lived in Milan for 15 years after Domus. I had my kids. They were all born in Milano. My wife, I met her in Milan, in Trattoria Toscana, even though she's Swedish. Yeah, I owe a very big part of my life. I spent it in Milano, and everything that I am as a designer, I owe it to Milano. And then,
So you can also speak Italian, vero? Puoi parlare
se vuoi parliamo anche. No, I even have the citizenship and everything. Yeah, it's 15 years, man, a lot of time, yeah.
Yeah, 15 years is almost like, a really long time.
Absolutely.
3. Yes. But then in 2012, you decided to move back to Colombia, which is like 8 years ago. It's an interesting move. Which was your motivation for this move, and what happened that made you think, okay, now the time for Milan has ended, and I can do something else elsewhere, maybe in my home country. Can you tell a little bit more about maybe how Colombia was changed since when you left it, and what was happening at the moment?
During let's say those 15 years that I spent in Milano, I was able to fulfill my dream in the sense that I was able to work for the companies that I really love to, right? so I can show some examples while I speak. So I was working when I came out of Giovannoni for Domodinamica. It was my first project for them. Then my experience with Polyform, I started to work with Polyform. I had this opportunity by Mr. Spinelli, the owner, that he gave me he opened the doors of Polyform to design for them. So I started to design for the companies that I was dreaming. And slowly, all these projects for Polyform lead me to you remember the story of the university, where I had a lesson in my mind. So I was able to fulfill my dream, reach my dream. I was able to design for Alessi. This was my first project for them, chip the clip holder. And I was so happy. Then after came Castor, the sharpener, for Alessi, and also the how do you call it, the lighter for Alessi and Lighttech. Yeah, but then there was
Can I interrupt you for a moment, because I want to anticipate a question that will come from students. How could you make it to work with all of these wonderful companies first? Because that's for sure something that they will ask. So I would like to ask you in advance. And then second, can you tell us about, how a product is born for them? Is it that you come up with an idea, you present it to them, or maybe they give you a brief and then you respond to the brief? Can you walk us into how it works? First of all, knowing them, getting to know them and getting to have the opportunity to work with them. And second, what is your process in developing these projects?
Well, when you go out from studio, let's say, often you don't know what to do, to be really honest. Yeah. So you have to look for solutions, to look for directions, to try to catch companies, to show your work to the companies, to be able to tell them, hey, I'm here. So what I did when I came out of Stefano was to knock on the doors, like we say, like you go calling, emailing all the companies that I was interested to work with. And then of course you get 90% of the time you get a negative answer. So as designers, we have to be very resilient. We have to be able to see a negative situation like a no, I'm not interested, thank you for calling, but we are full, whatever. And then you have to instantly get motivated again to go and knock on as many doors as possible. So I did that. I was contacting, for example, my first project was for Domodinamica. I called the company. I was able to speak to Paolo Castelli, to tell him that I wanted to design for them. The first answer from him was negative. He said, no, really, Rodrigo, thank you, but we are looking for, let's say, more famous designers to work for us. And then, again, you have to be resilient. So my answer was, hey, give me an opportunity. Please, just let me show you my work. You will lose only 5 minutes of your time staring at my projects, but for me it's so important to at least get your opinion, please. So I broke the balls, like we say, so much that he said, so he said, you know what, just okay, send me ideas for armchairs. And then that's how I started to design like crazy, and I sent him the ideas. And then I was so lucky that he chose 2 ideas to go to production. So that's one part. You go knock on the doors. But your work, if you do good work with passion and with love, your work starts to bring you more clients. So let's show you again that furniture piece that I'm talking to. So this is my first project in Italy, signing it.
Yeah.
That was for Domodinamica. Paolo Castelli gave me the opportunity. Then after this, it was I was called by Paolo Castelli he called me. He said, hey, can you come to the fiera, to the salone in Ro, I remember. And then I thought, oh, someone broke the prototype, right? Because I was showing a new project for them. He told me, I need to give you I have bad news and good news for you. So please come to Fiera, to Salone. So I went to the furniture fair. I went to the stand of Dynamica. He called me to the side of the stand, and he told me, he sat by my side on the sofa. He told me, look, I have bad news for you and good news. So what do you want to listen first? So I said, of course, the bad news. So he said, I'm really sorry, but I think that you won't work for us again. And I was shocked. I said, oh my God, what happened? He said, no, that was the bad news. But the good news is, but before I tell you the good news, you have to promise me one thing. You have to promise me that you will never forget who gave you the first opportunity. So I said, yes, of course, you. He said, promise. I said, yeah, I promise. I will never forget that you were the first person. Paolo Castelli was the first person that trusted me and gave me an opportunity. He said, okay. And then I said, so what's the good news? So he gave me his hand, like this. Boom. And then when he took away his hand, he left me a business bigliettino di visita, the business card. And the business card was written Polyform and then Mr. Spinelli, the owner. So I was shocked. I was like, what is this? So this piece of furniture that I did for Domo Dinamica was in the Salone, and Mr. Spinelli was walking in the Salone del Mobile. He saw my armchair. He liked it. He liked it so much that he went to speak to Paolo Castelli and ask him who made this for you. And Paolo was so generous and nice that he said, he's a young designer from Colombia. He lives here in Milano. Call him. So Mr. Spinelli, I arrived to Polyform because of this furniture piece, and this was my first project for Polyform, Manta. And then, as I said, one project gives you another one for Polyform, and then you start to show your work in the Salone and in the books and in the magazines, and then slowly the companies come to you, or you go knocking on the doors like I did to Alessi. I called to Alessi, I did my appointment, I went and I showed my projects, and I was so lucky that they chose this one that was cheap. And then after, they gave me more opportunities, with the sharpener, etc., etc. So that's how you start to get the different clients, right? And then how is the process? You said, how is the process that I follow?
If you want, also there is one question coming up, from Ilana Gutierrez, or Iliana. I don't know if it's Ilana or Iliana. Thank you, Iliana or Ilana. Where do you find your inspiration for projects when you run into a design block or creative block? Do you look for other art forms such as architecture, films, dance, music, etc., or what do you do personally? That was maybe that fits very well here, because probably is the first part of the process. And then if you want to talk to us about how you establish the relationship with the company and what is the back and forth that you do in that situation.
So how I find inspiration? Inspiration comes from everywhere, because designing, I mean, when you're a designer, you have to really live this as a passion. You have to be very passionate about your work, and you have to be looking for inputs from all over the world, from the work of the big masters, from what they say, from what they did, of course, and with all respect and being very humble, try to get all that info into your mind, right? I watch personally, because I design for people, I have to understand the people. So I love to watch documentaries like crazy. I am an addicted person to documentaries since 15 years. Every day I'm constantly watching documentaries about anything you can imagine. Sometimes my wife is screaming like, what are you watching? I'm watching a documentary about the hookers in New York, how they live, and etc. Like anything. So from one part, understanding the people, because I design for people. Don't judge people, but just embrace them, understand them. Because my objects, they need to talk to people. right? Or change behaviors in people. And then, of course, when I'm blocked, I stare at art or architecture or films or music, nature. I think we have to be very, very honest that the creative blocks come often. And we have to know that if we have this sort of list of or checklist of what you need to do a good design, is never going to help you because every project is different. So the first thing is don't panic when you have the creative block. Go watch a mostra, exhibition, art exhibition. Now with internet, it's amazing when you enter to Pinterest, to the work of incredible studios, read a book, listen to good music, drink some wine, drink some beer, chat, relax. For me, when I'm more relaxed, I start to get over these blocks. But the big masters often for me are let's say the main source of inspiration. Like a couple of days ago, I was staring like crazy to some, not documentaries, but speeches from Enzo Mari. In YouTube you find like there are 4 really good ones, and then you start to refresh a lot of concepts that coming from such an amazing mind. Even though you don't share some of them, or you can be critic about them, but it's so inspiring to see him, or people like him all around the world, or Herzog and the Neuron, their amazing projects, or inspiration comes from everywhere for me.
Okay, that's only the first step, and then you move on and you have to kind of interact with the company and communicate with the company. Probably that's a very important part of our job, right? Communicating with the company in the right way, understanding who has to lead and who has to follow, or if you have to go along towards a certain direction, if the direction is defined in advance, or if you have to propose the direction to them. So how does it work for you?
I got different inputs from the companies. Sometimes you get a briefing from the company where the company tells you, I need you to design for me a chair or a lamp or a specific product line with some requirements about the investments, the technologies that they have, what's the market, who is the user. I've got some briefings. Remember when we were working for Microsoft with a friend of mine in Chicago, with Scott, we were getting these amazing briefings from Microsoft Xbox, where it's incredible how they understand their clients, right? That is one side, really structured briefings, studies about the users, amazing. On the other hand, you get total freedom. So they just tell you, I don't want to cut your creative nature, I just want you to sign something for me. But and then I answer like, what? And they say, whatever. And that whatever is terrible sometimes because you don't know how to start. You're like, oh, really? Whatever? Yeah, whatever. And that's really tricky. So then you have yourself to start to do all the schematic, the conceptual approach to see what's the kind of product that maybe the company is lacking, in which areas they cover themselves well, which opportunities do they have, and then you can go and like pitch a new project, say, okay, I think is this the direction. Then after, depending on the company, you have to answer to the owner, like for example in the case of Polyform or Italian companies that have that beautiful part also, that the owners, or Alberto Alessi, the owners are inside of the company taking decisions, and they have all this knowledge that is incredible. So when you get a feedback from Alberto Alessi or Spinelli or Mr. Perazza and Magis, you really have to listen, because these guys, they know what they're talking about. So that's beautiful. On the other hand, you have to deal with let's say with big companies, with all the structure inside, the marketing structure, the design director, the manager, the technicians, the engineers. So you have to be, in that kind of situation, very humble, because a big project is made out of amazing people, many talented people in the marketing area, in the technical area, the right view from the manager. Everyone is working in synergy. as a designer, you're just a part of this system. And then everyone together, working proactively, they will be able to bring out an amazing product. You have to be very humble, mainly to technicians, right? To all the engineers and the technicians, you know, the operai, that are doing the things in the wood companies, furniture companies. Those are the masters that know all the secrets. Or for example, the tappezzieri, the upholsterer masters in Italy. They are the guys that really know how to do things. So I try to be as humble as possible when I arrive to the company and talk to the technicians, and I let them understand that I am just a part of this chain, that I am very good in what I do, but I know that you are very good in what you do. So I respect each person's area of expertise.
It seems that you are very good at listening then.
I was, you know, arrogance often is the best way to go through the drain in a project. You have to be humble. You have to understand that you don't know everything. Of course, you have to be strong in what you believe. You have to believe in your talent, but also you have to believe in the others that have trained themselves. So together we have to work in order to make the best possible product for society and for the company.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Rodrigo, for sharing this. And it seems you are very, very experienced in this topic. I mean, in the collaboration. So a good project, a good design, a good product, a good maybe market success is the result of a collaboration among many different competencies, many different backgrounds, many different skills. Can you show us a project of yours where this was especially meaningful, this collaboration between the designer, the company, the technology provider? I mean, a very complex project, maybe one of the most complex that you did that was especially meaningful for you because you discovered new things.
Sure. Of course, every project has its own complexity, but this project, Alessi Sense, is quite special because it sort of it gave me the opportunity to be able to bring all the concepts from what I believe in sustainability and all these years in Domus in my mind, thinking about what was my role as a designer dealing with water. So, and it's very complex because you're dealing with the most precious, of course, natural resource that we have. Alessi Sense is a line of smart faucets designed for Alessi and produced by Oras from Finland and Hansa in Germany. So in this project, beauty has a role. I understand beauty as something that is holistic in the sense that beauty has to be present in the way that a product is built, in the shape of the product, but also mainly in the way that the product behaves. And the beauty is present in the way that a product makes their users behave. So in this project, I was able to start from designing the rituals. So designing the behaviors. Our role as designers is that we can manipulate in a good way the behaviors of the people that interact with our objects. So if we create virtuous rituals, in this case with water, we're able to change the behavior of the people consuming water. And this is, of course, to take care of the most precious, let's say, natural resource that we have, which is water. So I'm gonna here show you very fast video of the. It's easier to understand like that. So that is the thing. So it's able to understand it like that. Sense basically is a product that took 2 years and a half to be developed. Sense started from just the idea of designing the behavior of the people to, through technology, guide them to virtuous behaviors. How? As you saw, we found a mechanism to just click on the top of the pad, and then Sense will give you water just for 6 seconds. After those 6 seconds, the water stops. If you want more water, you just click for the long click, and then you get the timer, and then you will get 1 minute of water. And any given moment, you can just press again the top of the pad, and then it will stop. It's a very simple mechanism that we found during the tests with the people in Horas, and that it was able to make the people adapt to the tap, in the sense that when the faucet is giving you water just for 6 seconds, 7 seconds, whatever, because you can program the amount of time, you can really make people to change the behavior, to speed up the whole process in order to wash their hands faster. So if you just think the amount of water that you are spilling, really throwing and throwing every time you brush your teeth, or every time your kids brush your teeth, or you wash your hands, it's incredible the amount of liters of water that just go lost. Sense, with a very simple mechanism, is making the people adapt to the object, and then by adaptation of every single day, you start to change your behavior. So for our surprise, on the first year that Sense was selling still in all north of Europe, they have to produce 50% more faucets because it's really working. So this is an example of how what the concepts that one has, for example, in my case, at the very beginning in the workshops in Domus, as a student dealing with sustainability, then after as a teacher, I was able to take it to a real project in which, as a designer, I designed a behavior, and then this behavior took shape into the faucets. Then after, we deal with all the technicians, the incredible engineers in Finland, to be able to really fine-tune every single detail, electronic detail, hydraulic detail, many prototypes to be able to get this beautiful piece out into the market. So for me, I have a very special link with this object because it's helping people to save tons and tons of water.
Yeah, fantastic. And also it introduced a new behavior in the home environment, because usually we are very familiar with this kind of automatic faucets when we are in public spaces, at a restaurant, auto grill, or whatever.
Yes.
Where we are out of home, but in the home is not a very familiar kind of gesture and behavior. Instead, you were able to kind of combine the familiar, some familiar elements of the faucets that we use in our homes, together with a behavior that you usually have when you are far from home.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? That was funny, because at the beginning, when the project started, we have to deal with electronics. And then that was the first question that one gets in their mind, that we have the connotation for us of electronics. Electronic faucets give you immediately the image of a public toilet. And that's the reason why, even though we had all the technology to have touchless faucets, for me and for us was important to touch the object, because the object that comes into your environment, intimate environment, is an object that you have to have certain relationship. And we as humans, we have the relationship through touch. We touch ourselves, we hug, we kiss. So for me, it was important to give to the user the possibility of touching the object to activate it in their domestic environment. And it's working really good, in the sense that the people are buying it for their houses.
Fantastic. And probably they're using it to wash their hands in this COVID-19 situation.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely.
Probably they raised the timer from 6 seconds to 20 seconds, which is considered to be the minimum time you have to wash your hands.
Yeah, you can program it.
Yeah. In order to, I could imagine that probably now it's being raised to that time. And of course now, since you are talking about like a connection with people, the fact that touching each other is a very important part of our experience, I can't go without asking you the expected COVID-19 related question. Today we live in a very unprecedented situation, which is very rich with the tough challenges as well as new opportunities. How did you and your company, you and your team of designers work in the past few months? And especially, what is your perspective looking forward? What are the scenarios that, in your opinion, with your perspective, from your standpoint, will be more likely to happen about the way people will buy products, will select products, and the way people will behave? Are you optimistic or pessimistic?
Well, if we manage to survive this thing, we have to be only optimistic. If we manage to go over this incredible pandemic and this sort of sci-fi situation, we're able to overcome and go over any kind of obstacle in our lives. So I am positive. If we are alive, we have it. We have an opportunity. If we are healthy, we have an opportunity. So with this thing of the COVID, I think it took us all to the basics, to give the right attention to the important things in your life as a person and as a professional. Of course, your family, health, things that we used to take for granted, like a hug or a kiss, chatting with friends, being in touch with nature, the fresh air. Now for us, those are treasures that in many cases, for example, here in Bogota, we still are in quarantine and we are still at home. But from the other point of view, like me as a designer, I always admire so much the work of Alberto Meda, the way he works, the way he is passionate about one product, certain projects, and he takes them on his own, he designs them on his own. So I have him as an example, and I do the same. I am a sort of an army of one, in the sense that I work through networking. I was more or less preparing myself for this since my years in Milano, because I have been always working through internet, always networking, always working, sharing screens, sending files all over the world. So for me, it really didn't change that much from that point of view, because I am working with a company in Japan, so I do my meetings, of course, at 2 in the morning, 2 a.m., whatever. I send the file, they send me the prototypes, or you can print the prototypes, whatever. Nowadays, with the technology that we have, we're able to really, and I think right now, COVID gave us the opportunity to really see that is the time to work from home, is the time to think your company, your business, your teams, not as a team that you have to be living by the side of the other, but a team that is sharing ideas, philosophies. Now, what is important in a business or in a product is the idea, is the concept, and those fly easily through a computer screen. You can really materialize that into a 3D file and then just easily send it and work like that. So from the environmental point of view, this coronavirus also taught us that we can really avoid stupid meetings, stupid trips that are just throwing to the environment tons and tons of carbon dioxide. You meet when you really need to meet. You can meet for a kiss, you can meet for a hug, or you can meet to kiss your prototype or to see the first sample. Otherwise, you can solve everything through the distance. So that, from my point of view, if we see it towards the future, we're going to use probably less cars. We are now imagining our working environment, domestic working environments, completely different. I was like a freak some years ago, because my studio, when I met Mr. Spinelli, the owner of Polyform, I said that my studio, because he was going to send his engineers to my studio. And I was working from my house. So I told Mr. Spinelli, my studio is here in my moleskin and in my laptop and in an internet connection. And then it's really like that. So it's an incredible opportunity for many of the young designers right now to rethink themselves it's very unlikely that when you leave your university right now, you're gonna find the job of your dreams. Like the big company, like Nike is coming or Apple is coming to you and tell you, here you go, these thousands and thousands of dollars, come work for me. That doesn't happen that often, and you have to be changing your mentality. Your mindset have to change from I go and look for a job. It has to switch to I create my own job. I create my own job opportunities. In my situation or my wife's situation, with all the networking that we have in this pandemic, we have been lucky in the sense that having different clients, maybe one client falls down, but you have others that could help you to still work for them. So future generations, I think they're going to switch from just the typical one job to be very flexible and to be having many clients and to have the mindset of really going after your dreams, knocking doors and develop things for many people, because the technology allows us now to do that in an incredible way. So I'm optimistic. It's going to be difficult, of course. We know the crisis, the economical crisis is starting. We don't see it yet, but I think people are we are being more conscious of how we spend our money. The objects that we bring into our houses now are more meaningful in the sense that are things that we really need, because the people are counting every single cent when they purchase a product. So as designers, we have to give them objects full of meaning in their
value for money.
Exactly. And we have to think about the prices. Cheap objects are going to, I think, start to be every time more popular, because there are people that are struggling. We're going to see companies that need products that are, of course, cheaper. Luxury in a way is gonna switch from expensive objects to the luxury of knowledge. Of the object that you have, for example, from a great master, it has so much knowledge and concepts in it that it's really worth buying. People are not stupid, and nowadays, after this COVID, people are going to spend their money in a way more conscious way.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing so many insights about your decisions and the steps you did in your career. If you still have a few minutes, I will go back to the question. Fantastic. Thank you, Rodrigo, for your availability. I will go back to the question that we left like unanswered a little bit, which is in 2012 you took the decision to move back to Colombia. Yes. So which was your deep motivation, and how do you see that choice now in sight of the coronavirus? So maybe we can connect these two things, because actually saying that you then working from Milan or working from Colombia, from Bogota, is actually the same thing somehow, but somehow makes a difference to be in Colombia, right? So what was your intention and motivation when you moved back?
I was living a happily life. I was really happy in Milano with my kids and my wife. I love Milano. For me, Milano gave me everything from a professional point of view, a personal point of view. All my friends, everyone that I left Milano is really meaningful to me. But there was a moment, there's a point in your life when you have to think to yourself, what is the next step? My first step when I was in Colombia was arriving to Italy to work and show to myself and to others that we Colombians are not only criminals, and to fulfill the dream of working for an Italian company and all that. Somehow I materialized my dream. So for me, what's important, once I could touch that dream, to have a new one. So my wife, in a very generous way, helped me to move to the next step. And together with her, we took the decision to come to Colombia. Why? Because I thought that in Italy, I could be one good designer, doing fun products, enjoying life, having beautiful friends, really living it. But then I thought that maybe in Colombia, I could become something else for my people, for our companies. Going back to Colombia, working from here, showing and leading by example, for me is very important, in the sense that for me, it's important to show to the young designers in Colombia that we can create things from here, that we are able to think and be competitive from here, work from here to outside, work from here with Colombian companies, teach Colombian companies, find Colombian companies that trust in design, and together start to build up this cultural movement. So I could become here part of a sort of an icon to help others to fulfill their dreams and to help our economy. So I moved with my wife, and then I started to look for companies here in Colombia, speak in universities, and show them with facts, like, you know what, we can make also incredible things here if we work hard. And then I was so lucky to find companies here that trust me.
In some way, this was also kind of a social responsibility project for you. Like, instead of just escaping a very problematic country and then going elsewhere to achieve your dream, okay, you did that, but then you didn't forget where you came from, and then you went back and you wanted to give back to your people, and you wanted to be making the Colombian creatives and designers be proud of being Colombian instead of just wanting to escape.
Yes. Look, when I finished my university, I witnessed this exodus of smart people, brilliant people, a lot of incredible people that are just going outside of the country. So the brain drainage was so big, so big. So I think you have to go sometimes in your life to think that maybe, of course, the only way to fulfilling your dreams is not economical or money, but you have to give back to your country, to your people, not as a nationalist, but because my country really needs that. Colombia needs an example of people that are doing things. Like you see in the last 15 years, we became the powerhouse of music in all Latin America. All the Spanish, the biggest, Shakira and all of those. You start to see more productions of Netflix doing, being done by Colombian directors, producing in Colombia. So it starts to be important for us to show to ourselves that we're good, that we can do things, and to recover that, to recover the self-esteem that we lost. Because often outside of Italy, because Italy is like this paradise, incredible paradise of companies that saw in design their way of making it. They understand design, they understand how a designer should place himself in a company. They compete with design and excellence. But it's not the same story outside. You see in Asia, in Latin America, in other countries, copying is what they do. And that thing, the fact of copying in Colombia, you have led the Colombians to think that they were less. It affected our self-esteem because the big companies were copying whatever came from outside. So, and I often tell to the students and even to the owners of the company, I tell, look, the only thing that differentiates us from a chimpanzee or a monkey is the fact that we can create.
Yeah.
It dignifies the human, the act of creation. So with all these years of copying, they remove our self-esteem. They make us think that we are just basic machines that could assemble. That they make the people think that Colombians or Latin Americans are not able to think and create. And this is a terrible cancer for our society and our companies. So for me, it was important to come here and show with real life facts that we can make things happen from here. So yeah, that's why maybe I sound like a crazy, politician, but for me, I'm so passionate about this because when you're here and you see the people suffering and struggling, and you as a designer with the companies, you can become like a sort of economical warrior in a good way to help them protect jobs and have a better life.
Wow. Thank you. We can really feel your commitment to this mission and your passion to this mission. Maybe you want to show us another project that maybe is the tangible demonstration of all of this, because as far as I understand, as far as I remember, you also work with some local companies over there, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Of course, I came to Colombia to be able to do that, and then I was so lucky to find myself in life with two companies. One is Siente, which is it belongs to an incredible family. One of them, he studied in Domus Academy, Sergio Vergara, and he was the person that was starting with his brothers to through design become their family company, one of the strongest high-end companies in Colombia, Latin America, furniture. So on one side, I was called by Sergio, which he trusted me, and of course already his mindset in the company was very clear because he did Domus, so he had been very clear with his brothers. The other one is Challenger. So Challenger is the biggest company of electrodomestic, the most important one here in Colombia.
Appliances, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can you give some examples of?
Yes, of course. How much time do we have?
As much as you have, Rodrigo.
Okay.
For me, at least, it's very interesting to stay with you and to listen to your insights and to the things that you have to mention. So, to me, we can spend a few more minutes.
Yes. Of course.
Finish by 6:30, 6:40, but until then, I think I have no problem.
Okay, so I'm going to show you this project that is pretty cool. That is for the Colombian company Challenger. They are based in Bogota. They have many different businesses, and they are electronics, a home appliances company. I was called by the owner when I met him to design the collection of the 50th anniversary of the company, and this is the video. Do you hear the sound?
Yes, we hear the sound, but if you want, you can also mute it, so we don't have copyright issues, and you talk.
No, but it's the music is okay. No
okay, okay, wonderful. Then go ahead.
Oops, there goes the... Unir la madera y el metal partió por el hecho de simbolizar en esta familia de objetos la naturaleza industrial que ha hecho a Challenger fuerte, y esos son sus dos negocios principales, que es uno de los muebles y el de los electrodomésticos. Es una compañía que ha sido muy fuerte en ambos sectores. Nos pareció importante hacer esta fusión de estos dos mundos, ¿no? Utilizando la mano de obra y el know-how de cada una de las plantas, de metalmecánica y de la planta de muebles. Entonces, el aspecto de la madera está muy ligado al hecho del tacto, al hecho que desafortunadamente se nos ha olvidado un poco lo doméstico de los electrodomésticos, ese aspecto humano, ese aspecto emotivo de los electrodomésticos que nos rodean todos los días. Con esta colección se pretendió
que en cada parte donde el usuario toca el electrodoméstico tuviera un material cálido y vivo. Y no hay material más vivo que la madera. Obviamente desarrollamos técnicas para proteger la madera en las distintas aplicaciones, con los distintos recubrimientos, con tecnologías para evitar que sufra. Y basándonos también en la experiencia de la humanidad, la madera ha venido siendo utilizada en distintas herramientas, desde los herreros hasta los pisos, y estaba muy legada a nosotros. Esa madera nos devuelve esa emotividad y esa domesticidad perdida de los electrodomésticos desde hace mucho tiempo.
Okay, Rodrigo, I think we got the sense. It was almost done. And again, I see in this project of yours that the topic of touching the product is really important to you. And this makes me think about the topic of, like, every designer always has to find, like, of his own language or her own language, right? The language of the product. Probably.
Hold on, the music went again. Hold on, give me a second that I stop the thing. Okay, maybe. Because then I went on top.
No problem, no problem. But in your case, maybe what connects your project is more like a philosophy. So we can see actually a visual, language that connects your project, but also the philosophy behind them, like the behavioral kind of approach that you have with products. That's probably one of the connecting ways among all of your products, one of the connecting fil rouge, let's say, among all of your products.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, for me it was important in this project to be able to bring the conceptual point of view that also we learned in Domus, no? Again, going back to the years in Domus Academy, to think different and to have a strong connection with the project in a conceptual way. So in this case of Challenger, even the shape of the fridge had a symbolic point of view, which is flipping a page in the history of the company, because it was the 50 years. So that's the reason why you have the shape has the reason of this little page that you just flip. Became the handle and the language of the whole collection. Also, the materials have to speak about the different technologies because they have furniture components, etc.
Fantastic, fantastic. If you still have some time, I would like to read through some of the questions that we got from the students, alumni, and the audience that we have online. One of them comes from Chloe Lee. She's a Korean student. I still remember very well of her. She is now working at IBM in Germany, in Stuttgart. She was studying at Domus in 2018, so she was a student of mine. And she says, as a person who is setting a long-term vision and plan for my career, I have a question for you, Rodrigo. What do you want to advise to people like me who are working for big corporations, or anyone who is planning to work for certain companies? What would be your key takeaways as an entrepreneur after working for other companies? So what is, in your opinion, the most important, let's say, I'll try to translate, what is, in your opinion, the most important role that a designer can have in a big corporation?
Wow. Depending on the corporation, the role of the designer is the first, make understand the company our role. That is like our first responsibility.
Yeah.
To be able to show the company our strategic role in the company, which is that we are the base. We are the often design has been understood as a weapon of marketing, or being under marketing. You know, often design is perceived as a weapon to make people buy stupidly, like zombies. Inside of a big corporation, it's very important to communicate that in every single process of the company, you can put design, right? That it has to be reflected on your final products, on the way your products behave, and the way your products make the people behave, in the rituals that you can create. And the responsibility that you have is that while you create these rituals, you need to give a sense, or help people to find a sense in their life. So if you work with high-tech companies, such as she has this beautiful opportunity in IBM, where you have all the power of technology, it's how to give a sense to technology. How do you make the world a better place through technology? How can you allow people to develop themselves fully through technology? And making the bosses of the company understand that design is not only a beautiful shape, but design is a conceptual profession, right? A career, and that what we do is we materialize concepts, that we can either materialize them into behaviors, into rituals, into beautiful shapes, and businesses. So it's the strategic engines of any organization. Is the one that can really change the perception of the company forever, like it happened with Apple and all these companies that embrace design.
Okay, thank you, Rodrigo. This was very insightful. And still, Chloe, a few moments later, she asks, how was your journey until the leading, impactful person who you are today, who can manage multiple people with different roles in a project? And what do you think is the most important step to be a good design leader? It's evident that she wants to become a leader, and so she's asking you some shortcuts to achieve her dream.
To lead, you have to lead by example. That is the main role. You cannot offer anything that you don't have yourself. And to be able to understand the others, you have to be humble, and you have to be willing to step down from your position in order to be very horizontal with every person in the structure. I have a very strong relation with the technicians and with the operai. Often in any country, I still have very good friends in Finland, in Japan, or here in Colombia. Mainly the people that are working with me in the project. So I try to be very horizontal, very open-minded, try to be humble and respect their expertises, and lead by example. I cannot teach you or ask you to play the flute if I cannot play it. So the same thing in a company. Lead by example, be an extremely good designer, be very clear with what you ask from your team, and show them that you can do it really good, that you are amazing in what you do. Help them to become as good or better than you, and then the team will become so strong and so productive. But looking just for self celebration and trying to squeeze others and try to be always me, it's not the way. You have to be humble and help others to race with you and guide by example and with love, you know. Be cheerful, be human.
Yeah. Back to humanity and like working together, collaboration are key in your opinion then. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Rodrigo. And Chloe, do you want to switch on your mic and camera? You mentioned in the chat that you want to say something. I put you in the position to switch on your mic and camera to share your thoughts directly with us. Do you want to do that? Do it now, Chloe.
Hello?
Hello? We can hear you. Switch on the camera if you want.
I'm sorry, I'm still doing home office today, and it's a little bit rude to show my face. So could I still?
Yeah, sure. Welcome, and it's nice to hear from you.
Okay, thank you, Rodrigo and Paolo. It was really inspirational for me, and I especially attended here because I was so interested in Rodrigo's the story, you know. Especially working for many different big corporations and then switching to your career, you know, having your own business. And, you know, the first question that I did here was actually about that, because, you know, I already spent 2 years in this big company, and I thought it's really the time that I need to think of, you know, a little bit more longer vision of my career. You know, like if we want to really remain in this company, or you know, to be a leader of certain group, manager, or you know, maybe finding my own business. So that's why maybe you have some kind of insight like that. You know, the difference between working in those, like, you know, working for a certain business that you don't own, versus like you have this business that you have to do most of the jobs, dealing with business from the design to business, everything. So that was actually what I was curious about. You know, what was your insight? What you wanna advise to those who are still working for other person's business as a trainer? Yeah, and yeah, second question that I completely agree with you. Having empathy to the members and who you are working with, stakeholders, I think that's the most important part. But also as a person, you know, apart from that, what other things, you know, apart from the communications, as a designer, what would be the, I don't know, the key weapon that you can have other than, you know, communication skill or having empathy to others?
Thank you.
Well, I think there's so different things that you need to keep in consideration when you want to lead people. I think that when you inspire people with your personal example, it gives many good results, because when you're able to translate into facts all the concepts or the blah 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 that you often say in meetings, and you are able to really show them the results, it inspires people, and it inspires your team, right? I think one has to ask a lot from others, because they can give a lot. If you trust them and you respect them, you have to ask for the absolute excellence of others. And speaking about excellence is something that I think we have to put in our brains always, is that we have to work for passion and for excellence and for accomplish our dreams. If you work in IBM,
every single project, every single opportunity that you have has to portray you as a human being, because from my point of view, I am what, and that is something that I learned in Italy. Italians are what they do. Italians see themselves as what they do. So that's why Enzo Ferrari was the Ferrari, and that's why you have the best tappezzieri of the world. You have in Italy, they can build anything that can't be done in the rest of the world, because excellence is in everything they do. So one thing that is important to make a team understand, team members, is that they are what they do. The same to the students. That was something that I was always telling my students in Domus or in other parts of the world, like, you are what you do. So in that way, you will never produce something that you don't feel proud of. So another thing that I heard in what you said is, what is the next step maybe for you after maybe a big company, going for your, or stay in a big company and make your career in a big organization, which is perfectly cool. And also, if you want to go and do it on your own, it's perfectly cool also. But what is really important is what makes you happy. What makes you happy? Because you're gonna be doing this job for years and years and years in your life, and you're gonna have a lot of difficulties. But at the end of the day, you have to see if you're really happy. If you can wake up every day and feel that little spark in your heart that says, shit, I'm gonna sit down and go and develop this project. If you have that on doing it on your own, then just do it on your own. But if you feel that spark inside of you, inside of a big corporation, then just do it. Follow anything that will make you happy. I think that is very important, because it's not work. We are very fortunate. It's not another job to be a designer. If this is your passion, they're paying you to do what you really love, and that's the way I live it fully. There's no money that can buy that for me. It's my passion.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Ilana gave us another couple of questions that I have the feeling that you already answered. So I would like to move on to the question from Julian. And yes, Chloe, we need to move forward. But yeah, thank you for giving that question. And I would like to ask this. I would like to bring to you this last question from Julian. So he says, hi, Rodrigo and Paolo. Since, Rodrigo, you're working right now in Colombia, how do you see the growth of the product design in Colombia and in South America? A lot of companies there don't invest in design. They just try to copy, as you said, but they also have more urgent necessities and lower resources. So how do you manage to get people or companies invest in your products as a long-term idea or perspective in the long term? So that's one very important point. So probably one of the reasons why Colombian companies and designers used to copy or still copy is because they have less resources than similar companies which are based elsewhere in the world. So how do you make them understand the value of originality? That's probably the point behind this question from Julian.
I think Colombian companies, or we can say Latin American companies, in the last years, they are starting to change the way they perceive design, because of our economies are completely open. So we are invaded by tons and tons of the best products of the world. So if you have a company that is producing chairs or TVs or ovens, and you realize that you have to compete with the best of the best, you have to realize and understand that the only way to compete or to arrive to their level in a certain way and protect your businesses is designing better products. So the first part is that if you want to survive, tell me, you have to design. Also, we are open to the world. Colombia, in the past decade, has been growing economically. It's one of the most stable and strong economies of Latin America, and the forecasts for the future are very positive in many ways. Latin America is a continent that is going to start to develop in the following years, slowly. We have a lot of young people, young families. The middle class is slowly growing, and then
there's a lot of things happening here. So companies are also starting to think differently, slowly. The second thing, also because of opening to the world, many lawsuits are also arriving. So companies from abroad, big companies, start to see Colombian companies that are maybe making millions and millions of dollars with products that are copied. So now start to become interesting to sue the bastard, like they say, and you know, if someone is copying your product, you can easily be sued, because we have all this agreement of the United States and then with Europe. So, but the most important thing is that what I have seen is that Colombian companies or Latin American companies or Mexican companies, for example, let's give the example of Mexico. They have very good technology in their companies. They are basically the factory of the United States. They have incredible factories, you know, they build cars, they build anything you want. So what I say to those companies or Colombian companies is that how come an Italian can make a piece of art with wood, with this same machinery, and you just create you just copy a turd, like a disgusting piece there, with the same machinery. Transforming a material is basically the same. What is important is the concept that you put into that product. With one CNC milling machine, I could create a piece that goes straight to a museum, or an economical success, or just a piece of crap with the same machinery. So it's a lot of the blocking is here, because we have injection blowing, injection of plastics, metal, you can bend, you can weld, you can chrome plate, you have tapissieri, you work wood, you work ceramics. So how come the Italians, exactly with the same machinery, create these amazing pieces and you are not able? So it's all here. Slowly, you see how they understand. And you know what is beautiful? When you see the teams that are developing, when they see the things that are capable of, like when we were building the signature collection, you know, the fridge and all that, to see the faces of the engineers and the technicians that they were able to build all this. That was crazy at the beginning, because it was crazy, but when they saw the pieces, now that I still work with them in new projects, I could really see their curve of learning and self-esteem growing. So it's really, really nice. And companies, when they see a nice product, and they start to see other products from Colombian companies that start to have success slowly, they start to believe. They start to say, you know what, maybe this thing of design is not that crazy at all. So why not give it a shot?
Fantastic. All right, Rodrigo. There is one last question from Marlisa. If we want to go for it, can you stand? Another question, Rodrigo?
Yes, of course, I'm here. No problem.
Great. Hi, everybody, and thanks for this talk. Has working for the Giovannoni studio allowed you to have business contacts that you could use later for your personal business? You already answered this one a little bit, but maybe you have another story to share.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, working in the studio of Stefano put me in contact with different companies, of course. But one thing that one has to understand is that the world is very small, and you have to behave in a very proper way, always be very correct, like we say, la correttezza, no? In Italian.
Yeah.
So when I left the studio of Stefano, I didn't go and contact the companies that they worked with. When I was going to contact Alessi, first I called Stefano, and I asked him, and it was many years after I left his studio, and I asked Stefano if it was okay for me to contact Alessi. When he said yes, that there wasn't any problem, then after that I contacted Alessi. So that's a little tip for people that are leaving the studios, such as the one of Stefano or many other studios worldwide, is that you have to be very correct. You have to act really in a clean way, because the world is so small, the design world, the design community is so small, that if you behave bad, that word goes around. Not like bad karma goes around. So yes, of course, I was in touch with nice companies, but there are companies that I know the owners that I never worked, because I know that, for example, Stefano has key businesses with them, so I don't want to mess. Or companies in which I have friends also. I just target other companies because I know that they are let's say, giving the food to their kids with this company. So you have to be very correct. Respectful.
Clear. Being correct, being positive. Don't go and steal the clients from your maestros is very important.
Very important. That's very important.
All right, Rodrigo. All right, Rodrigo. It's been great, really, to listen to you going through your journey from Colombia to Italy and back to Colombia, the reasons why you did all of these things in your career, and connecting a little bit the dots of your life before Domus, your life in Domus, and what you did afterwards. You gave a lot of advices, I have the feeling, so I don't have to give you the last question, which is one last advice for the students, because you gave a lot of advices. So thanks for taking the time to share your experience and perspective with us, and we also hope to see you soon in Milan. Domus Academy is always open for you. The door is always open for you and all the alumni, and so we believe it's been a great moment to share these things with all of our friends. Thank you, everybody, and thanks for following our webinar. And Giuseppe, maybe you want to give a last word to the audience.
Yes, so first of all, I want to thank Rodrigo and Paolo. Grazie mille.
Thank you. Thank you.
Grazie davvero. So I see that our students interacted a lot, so I guess it was very insightful. And so we continue with this webinar. So in a few days we will have another webinar. So we don't know the date yet, so we cannot announce it, but we continue with the webinar with Connecting the Dots. And me too, I hope to see you in Domus Academy, Rodrigo, in the next few months, when finally able to open the flights to Italy. Thank you very much also from my side. Grazie mille. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys, really. Super nice. I'm super happy to be in touch with you. Grazie mille.
Grazie, Rodrigo, and good luck for the quarantine. Good luck for the lockdown. We are sure everything will be excellent, and you and your family will be doing well. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Grazie.
Ciao.
Grazie mille. Ciao.
Grazie. Bye.
Grazie a tutti. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.